Year 9, going into Year 10. Those of you that have chosen the option for dance, just checking that you're on the right video, everybody. Hope everybody's safe and well, and welcome to lesson number 2. So, we're going to go over, first of all, what we learned in lesson 1. So this is a little test for you guys. Obviously, like I've said in the previous video, please pause the video if you need to. You'll definitely need to when we get onto the slides where you need to take some notes down. So pause it, play it at your own pace. Make sure you're taking everything in. So you might want to pause this one whilst you have a go at filling in the mnemonic Safe Studio. So you need to try and remember what each of the letters meant. Pause the video now. As soon as you're ready, press play because I'll move on to the answers. So guys, here are the answers. The S is about the size of the studio. So making sure that you've got enough room and you don't crash into anybody else. A for airflow. The studio needs to be well ventilated with windows. Fire exits need to be clearly marked and known to the students. So like at school when we have our fire alarms as a practice, you'd know where to go in that situation. E for ears. The music is a comfortable level. Obviously we don't want to blow anybody's eardrums out, so that needs to be a nice sound so we can hear it clearly, but so it's not an uncomfortable level. Sprung floor, non-slippery, uncluttered. Temperature, an ideal one is between 20 to 21 degrees Celsius. You've got to dress appropriately, and I did say that this lesson is going to focus in on that. So we're going to look at appropriate clothing today. Drinks to be kept outside of the studio, and today's lesson also follows on that one, and we're going to talk about hydration and why it's really important to keep your fluid uptake so that you are prepared for the session. I see well, the lights have got to be natural if possible, nice and bright so that we can see what we're doing, and O for overhead. Now this slide could help you later on when I'm asking you to look at a risk assessment, so you might want to zhuzh back to this a bit later. That's just a little tip for you. Okie doke, let's move on guys. So we're continuing with the same theme, safe practice in the studio. This is part 2 in your facts book, and by the end of the session you will be able to understand more aspects of good practice, understand and carry out a basic risk assessment using a picture, explain key features of nutrition and hydration for a dancer. So at the end, the questions you should be able to answer, and when I ask you them at the end, you should be able to tell me the answers basically. So what would be appropriate dance wear in the studio? How can we make sure we don't get injured? What checks we do in a risk assessment? What a healthy balanced diet is for a dancer, and why hydration is so important. And what I've also tried to do is pop in some exam questions because I've seen a number of these crop up in the papers. So obviously we're just keeping in mind why we're doing these topics. So here we go. Task 1, people. So you need to look at this picture and identify 8 examples of poor dress practice. So what I would do if I were you, you can pause it, and when you've got 8, then press play. So pause now, get you 8. Here come the answers. So straps are showing. Examiners would mark you down for that, and also the problem with it is you might be fiddling. So if you're trying to lift things up during a performance, obviously you then get graded down. Jeans are not a breathable fabric. These ones are also quite long, but if you were doing a hip hop style, for example, one of the studies we watch, they do wear jeans, so it could be part of a costume. but for normal everyday rehearsals, jeans are a no-no. The belt obviously has got sharp areas that could dig into yourself or a partner if you're doing contact work. Jewellery, we shouldn't wear any jewellery whilst we're performing. Again, we can break it could catch on somebody else and it can cause ourselves injury. Trouser length needs to be so they're not dragging on the floor because it could be a tripping hazard. Hair should be off your face. Again, the only other time that would be different when we did Thriller in year 9 and you might wanted your hair big and backcombed if it's part of a costume. So if you're in The Lion King or something like that, your costume and hair might be different. Non-revealing items, again, examiners don't like that. Plus, some people, suddenly think, oh, I'm not very comfortable to dance in this. So we need things that are comfortable and help us to perform to our best. So the lady on the right-hand side is the same girl, but she is in appropriate dance wear. I would say she probably needs a slightly higher top on so that she's again comfortable when she's doing all the different dance moves. Stretchy fabric, layers of clothing, bare feet. You do get examined with bare feet. So even though we might wear dance shoes when we rehearse, the examiners want your filming in bare feet. That's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, moving on. So next task, I would like you to now risk assess this dance studio. So you might want to judge back, like I said, to one of the earlier slides and try and pick out some of the hazards. Pause now or judge back and then I'm going to reveal the answers. Here come the answers. So the ceiling light, obviously, ceiling fan. Obviously that would be a hazard. If you're doing leaps and jumps or lifts, somebody could obviously have a very nasty accident on that. They might go spinning around. Next one. Obviously it's quite dirty and grotty in there. It needs to be nice and clean and hygienic. Lights. There's no lights on it. It looks very, very dull in there and dim. There's some lights on the wall, but they're pointing downwards. I'd suggest if they were on, they probably weren't very bright. So it needs to be well lit. Clutter on the floor. Lots of clutter in this hallway. Obviously that's a tripping hazard or a bumping or knocking hazard. So that could all cause injury, as could the wire on the floor and all this debris. Now, if there's a fire exit, it looks like it's towards the back of the hall. Obviously, anything blocking a fire exit would be a big no-no. So you do a risk assessment of the studio. Or if you, let's say for example, if you chose to do your choreography performance piece outside, then you'd go through the same measures. You'd have a look what a safe area was, and risk assess that area that you're going to perform in. So that was task 2. Moving on, people. So I just wanted to put in there about safe execution because this has come up in the paper before. So the AQA definition from the exam board is to carry out actions safely. So safe execution in dance includes a physiologically sound warm-up and cool-down. Recognising good alignment appropriate to the style being studied. And another thing that they like you to mention is dancing and performing to your own body's capacity. So you don't exceed your limitations. Sometimes when people try and, let's imagine they do a routine that's too hard for them, they can then sometimes be injured from that because they're doing movements that, 1, they're just not at the right level to be performing, and 2, their body just really struggles with it. So that can cause injury. We are going to look more into this in the next coming lessons. We're going to focus on warming up next week. And when we actually get into school and we can do practical, that's how we'll look at moving in and out the floor safely, use of your hands to support movement, and we'll do more on injury prevention. So it would be a good idea if you took a couple of notes down. The definition for safe execution, that would be great, and just a little note of the things I've just said. The next, I think it's about 5 slides, I'm going to shush through them, but I want you to stop on each one and make some notes. We're going to be looking at nutrition. So here we go, slide 1, calorie needs. So obviously you don't need to write this bit down, but the next few slides I'd like you to take notes. So we need obviously to be able to perform to the best of our ability to be well fueled for class. So I want you to read these slides. I'm not going to read them out because I'd be here for the next 20 minutes, and then the video, they're a nightmare to upload. So I've actually been told to try and shorten mine a bit. I like to talk, everybody. I could talk all day quite easily. So have a read through these and then make some notes on the next few slides. Slide 1 is about carbohydrates. So you stop the slide, read it through and make some notes, please. That'd be fantastic. And we will do the same for slide 2. Okay, so hopefully you've made some notes on those because we've got the next task. This is an actual exam question from the paper that we've had. So the question is, describe an ideal breakfast for a dancer and it's worth 3 marks. So I would focus in on the fact it's a breakfast and it's worth 3 marks. Have a go at filling that plate. I'm going to reveal the answers next lesson. So pause it if you need to, guys. Next exam question. Oh, there's a little picture just to give you some clues. This is for lunch this time. So same task, but the exam question says for lunch. So pause it if you need to. And the final question I need you to answer is, why is it important for a dancer to keep hydrated during a class? That is worth 3 marks. So think about what might happen if you're not hydrated. That could form part of your answer. Hope you got on okay with those. Obviously pause that if you need. And then this is just a recap. So I'm going to look at your answers. We will reveal my answers for the exam questions in next lesson. But I want you to just check that you know the answers to all 5 of those questions. Jot them down as a recap in your fact book, and we will recap them next lesson as a mini test. So if you need to go back through any points, obviously do so. And I hope you've enjoyed video lesson number 2. Take care, guys. Bye.